Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Alrighty. I was gonna say, oh look, we got started early, but no, it's exactly 8 o'clock, so we're on time.
On time is early for us.
That's true. That's true. Phoenix. All right. So, what are we doing today, Waffles? Are we just hanging out? We're gonna play some games. What's going on?
We're gonna play War on Tabletop Simulator.
just the card game war. Just like
Yeah, just a very basic card game.
I got a 5. What did you get?
I got a 2. This one's yours.
Riveting for everybody involved, I am sure. To save you all from that, which, is really tight call, rolled some dice, decided that this time, maybe next time we'll do War, but this time we're going to talk about the Starfinder 2E Galaxy Guide, which is it's massive, y'all. Like, this thing has so much information in it. There is zero chance that we're going to get through all of it, knowing the way that we usually get through things. However, we did our best to be a little bit organized. We're going to jump around a little bit, because there really is so much to get through. There is no way that we can do it efficiently if we don't cut a lot of the stuff out. So we're going to talk about some heavy hitters. We're going to talk about some lore at the beginning, because I think the lore is incredibly fascinating. And then we're going to go through, we're going to jump around, and you'll see where we get through, because if you're going to catch us in the VOD later on the YouTube, Waffles is going to do all the hard work of giving you all the chapters of everything we talk about, so you'll be able to see it a little bit clearer there. But see, I don't promise anything, because I have ADHD and I will talk about things that catch my eye. So sorry in advance to future Waffles.
I will just say before we start, my favorite part of this book is because sci-fi, it's how they laid out like all the different types of sci-fi.
Yes,
and like what you can do.
Absolutely. Here, let's kind of flip on over so everyone can take a look at this book. Where'd it go? Here we go. Book. The Starfinder Galaxy Guide. Looks so cool. Is it really only 180 pages? I say only because like it feels like it's just dense.
It's 180 pages, but every page feels like it has a full page of information that you need.
Yep. Also, just catching this right now, doesn't this look like a scabbard for a non-existent sword on the front cover? Just kind
of. Yeah.
Just like, where's the sword part?
It could also be like, it's Starfinder. It could be like a rifle or something,
That's true. Okay. So there's 2 things that came with. Okay, as always, know that while I love Pathfinder and Starfinder, we do give our honest opinions. So there are some things that I'm gonna be like, well, this is confusing or something like that. But I know that they worked very hard on this, and that none of my critiques or my comments are meant to be immensely negative. They're just my genuine opinions on things, and I will be equally as excited about so much things. So much stiff. Because, and the reason I preface with that is because as we take a look at this, and let me make sure, as I bring this over here, let me make sure that if I switch tabs, okay, you guys are gonna see it, great. So there's 2 things that came with, hi Drac, welcome. There are 2
hell no
things that came with the PDF version, which is really cool. So obviously there is this, which is the main everything, but there also came maps of the galaxy, which is
when you flipped over, it reflipped very quickly.
It what?
Just to let you know, like you pulled up the maps for like 2 seconds and then it unpulled up the maps. Now you're back on the book.
It's showing me that we're on the map.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah.
So this map, there's 2 pages back and front, and like, to be honest, I would love to have this as a resource, like physically, like truly, but This is also one of the most confusing maps that I have ever seen, and I spent such a long time studying it. It's rough.
No joke. I studied nuclear schematics in the Navy, and this map's confusing.
Now, at the same time, I understand because you're trying to map out not two-dimensional space. It's not like flat. You're talking about, like layers of a universe and things like that. What is the equivalent of the inner sea for star? Oh yeah, by the way, open questions in chat. Please feel free if something comes up or if you catch something in passing and you're like, wait, what was that? Just ask and we're happy to explore with that.
You want me to take this one, or you know it?
Well, I do know it. It would be basically the Packed Worlds.
Yeah.
So that is what we're looking at here. So just wait. This is not the most confusing map that I'm talking about. Just I haven't flipped to the second page yet, and I'm leaving you all in suspense.
This map's chill.
So the Packed World. So if you take basically the sun. That was a hint. I didn't mean to do that. Zoom in here. So I want to make sure that I can. Let's not. How do you move on? I always struggle with this. I'm so sorry.
I believe in you.
I don't.
Control click, right click, middle mouse button.
No, like, just let me. All right. Well, we tried. All right. So.
Sup, fam?
Hello.
Bleeple.
All right. So let's take the sun. We're starting at the very bottom here. There is little on the left-hand side, little blurbs for all the different planets and everything, which is great, which is cool. But take a look at the sun. All right, the Packed Worlds are literally that, a bunch of worlds that came together to make a pact. We're going to get into the lore as we talk about Starfinder, but most of them are together in one kind of area in a bunch of planets that are orbiting around the sun. So, yes, don't look directly at the bottom of the screen. You will go blind. So we have Abalon, Triaxis, Castravel, Absalom Station, for those of you that are familiar with Absalom in the Inner Sea of Pathfinder. Yes, this is based off of the same starstone that is around Absalom, was pulled out, and well, there's a whole thing for it, but that's okay. So Absalom Station is a station that surrounds the starstone. Then we have Akiton, Verces. I really want to be like Versailles. It's not French. Verces. The Adari, which technically not a planet. It's a really large ship. We'll get into that as well. But it's basically joined the Packed Worlds once they came over here. Then
I got a question.
Oh yeah.
This is a philosophical question.
Yeah.
Is a ship that is stuck in a gravitational circle around a sun considered a planet? Because it's not.
I will
moving.
leave that to chat. I mean, to me,
Yeah.
technically, no. It is a foreign object in orbit, I would say. Or it is, like an asteroid stuck in orbit.
I think Mercury's a foreign object in orbit. So. Just saying.
This is not the place for the conspiracy theories of our. Okay. Behind the Adari is the Diaspora. The Diaspora is a basically asteroid belt that surrounds across everything. There's a lot of crime that happens there. Then you have on the other side of Diaspora, you have Eox. Hello, thank you. Have a wonderful lurk. Hi, thank you. It's been a very long time. So they have Eox. Eox is a dead planet. It's full of bone people. It's very spooky and cool. We'll get into all of that as well.
Necromancy Ford. Hype.
Yes. Hey, they turn shit around. They're part of the Packed Worlds now. We got to give them their credit. They're also still a little bit sus, though. They're just a little bit sus.
They are, yeah.
Then you have Leovara and all of Leovara's moons. I'm not going to get into that. Then you have Brethida and all of Brethida's moons. And then you have Aposte, which actually I don't know much about that, so who knows? We'll find out.
Aposte's like Pluto.
Yeah, we don't.
No one cares about it.
Oh, fighting words, to be honest. Sorry for the flashing. I'm trying to zoom out, and it's being funky. I'll give it that. So you do have on the left-hand side over here, you do have like a bunch of little blurbs on each of these things. Let's find Apostate. Let's see if they even have it. They do. The messenger. This hollow planetoid is riddled with gateways leading into the Magitech caverns inside its core that once served as a world ship for a forgotten people. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. And then you have this, okay? Oh, it does give you on the right here, it does give you just a little bit of a like snapshot at technically one of the, so Pulonis, formerly Vesk 6, joined recently to the Pact systems. It is not one of the planets in this orbiting of this sun, but because it is technically part of the Pact worlds, here's a little snapshot of Pulonis in the Gaviniska system. Okay, let's talk about this, okay? This little thing that was thrown into the top right corner. I think it's a valid and interesting way to do it. Pluto isn't a planet because it hasn't cleared its orbit. Rules for being a planet. 1, orbits a star. 2, it's sufficiently large for gravity to make it nearly spherical. No, it's nowhere near spherical.
Yeah, you're right. I misread that one. You're right. It's not a planet.
And
it doesn't hit rule 2.
What does clearing its orbit mean? I'm curious about that. Like does a full circle? Like, is that like...
My brain says does a full circle, but my brain also says, this is just a guess, but my brain also says knocks everything in its orbit out of its way. Like, get out of here, you know?
There are no other objects in the same size category in its orbit.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so regarding this map, because we have so much to get through, but this just blows my mind. So it's like 2 views of the way the galaxy looks. So you have in the yellow is the Pact worlds and where that sun is, and then you have like other areas. So red is near space, which is kind of like behind if you're looking at this section up here, and then you have the vast, which is behind that. And because space is funky and it's really hard to convey all of that information, I'm like, okay, cool, I vaguely know what this is referring to.
Yeah. Can I give my input on it here?
Yeah.
So the way I look at it, the best way for me to like actually digest it, this may not be the perfect way, but near space and the vast are like planes in which you could jump into. Like they're like the 4th dimension almost, where like you have the fire plane and the earth plane, etc., etc. It's not like the further you travel out, you're just gonna get to near space. I don't know.
Because the reason I'm hesitant is because of the next page. But go ahead.
Okay. No, that's it.
Okay, I'm now going to flip to the next page. Dun ta da, ta da.
Yeah. Good luck.
This, my poor brain. Is it cool? Yes. What is it? I don't know.
This is a 16x game.
I am fascinated. In the top left corner, there's old Rovagug. It looks like a black hole, which is just wild. There's Pharasma's coil. There's the Hydra Nebula. There is Casmerg's absurdity. There's a lot of really interesting things here.
Starfinder Stellaris would go hard. Just say.
Yes.
I'm talking to my chat people.
I zoomed in here, right? And in doing so, let's look at just the Pact worlds, just like we just looked at from the other way. Yes, there's the sun, there's all the orbits of the, all the planets that we just talked about. We have the diaspora. So like, okay, this makes sense. Then you have the Gelid Edge and all of this stuff. And then we talked about that one thing that was in the Gaviniska,
Vesk 6.
Formerly known as Vesk 6.
Yeah.
Pulonis. So like we can see from just like the Pact worlds down to near space that's where Pulonis is. But the rest of it confused the heck out of me. Now, I found out later when going through the actual galaxy guide that all of these little like zoom things are basically drift highways, which
Yeah,
are
yeah.
ways to travel through these different areas. But I really do
Quickly.
wish that there's a key here, right? So you're looking at like all the different oops, sorry. You have an undesignated star system, a classified planet, what a dead world looks like, dead star looks like, what a fleet looks like. Like, okay, I appreciate the key, but I do wish that like the drift highways were also marked in the key and things like that, just to make it a little bit clearer. But
Yeah.
I'll be honest, this is fascinating and really interesting, but it was a bit much for my computation. I rely on someone out there I'm sure will do an amazing job reviewing this and explaining it clearly. But until then, this blew my mind.
The only thing I can add to this map, because I've run Starfinder before, is that like when you're jumping through the drift to like near space, it can be anywhere from like 1 week to 4 weeks, even if you're on like a highway.
Yeah. So, this is basically Civilization, but in space, absolutely. Civilization cult power. And then did Rovagug turn into a black hole? I mean, that is my assumption. I was looking for that, and if I didn't see it, I will, when we find it together this time, I will definitely let you know.
Did Rovagug turn into a black hole, or did the Starfinder Society find a black hole and call it Old Rovagug? That's the question.
That's fair. We're gonna start with some lore, and I know that a lot of people here are brand new to Starfinder. If you are, welcome. I'm very excited to welcome you to this. I've played just a little bit of Starfinder 1E. I know that they've added and expanded a lot of the lore in Starfinder 2E. But I will spend more time on this for a short period, like as much as I can, and because I think it's just utterly fascinating. I think they did two really interesting things here. They explained the gap, and they explained how you get to Starfinder lore-wise all over again, but then they also created like a brief history of everything that's happened until now, and then for the start of Starfinder 2E did a very interesting kind of event to start the age of Starfinder that we are currently in, and with enough chaos and enough kind of seeds of the story that can go in many, many, many different ways. So it gives a huge, and I mean, not to be punny, but a vast playground to play in from a GM perspective. There is so much you can do, and we'll talk a little bit about the things that we're kind of stealing or inspiring in terms of Golem, but Golem being homebrew is going to be standalone regardless. Okay. So, the galaxy known as Desna's Path has witnessed stars spark and collapse as countless species and worlds evolve and perish, all while gods battle and mortal empires rise and fall. But modern history begins with the Gap. Again, if you're brand new to Starfinder, this is huge. A mysterious period that was magically wiped from both recorded history and living memory for reasons not even the gods understand. During the Gap, the planet Galarian disappeared. So when you're talking about Absalom Station, that's because nobody knows what happened to Galarian. It disappeared in the Gap. All that remained was a space station powered by the magical Starstone, which is now Absalom Station. It is a Magitech marvel inhabited by the shocked survivors of the missing planet. None of them remembered how or why, only that their world had changed seemingly overnight. Now, do note that this is in the past where kind of they're starting the story here, but in terms of there's a lot of history that we're going to kind of jump forward through. So before the Gap, we're going to, I think, there obviously space existed before the Gap. Most worlds are relatively isolated. Early space exploration was dangerous and sporadic. There was a lot of wars, etc., etc. I'm going to skip this a little bit.
There's also a timeline later. You can go.
There
over
will
super
be a
quick.
timeline, yes. Then the god Triune revealed drift travel in 3 AG, that's 3 after Gap. Triune's signal spread across the universe, granting many cultures knowledge of hyperspace travel through a special dimension called the Drift. So when I talked earlier about drift highways, that's something that's about to happen. But the drift travel is basically hyperspace travel, which only came into existence because of the god Trion. In the following years, Trion's priest created drift beacons, which is a huge concept in Starfinder, drift beacons, to act as buoys for space travel and distant communication. Akiton declined, one of the planets in the Pact universe, Pact world, declined as traditional starship propulsion systems were replaced by new drift-capable engines, rendering its chief export, the starship fuel Thasteron, obsolete. Then you have a bunch of conflicts. Eox, the undead planet that we talked about, turned on Absalom Station. When the ruling Bone Sages launched the Magefire Assault in 7 AG, explorers then from the Galarian system encountered the Viscarium, which was all the Vesk planets that we showed you earlier. And the Viscarium is an empire bent on conquering the galaxy after subjugating the worlds of the Gavaniska system. At first, the Viscarium pretended diplomacy. This false peaceful overture ended in betrayal and battle in 36 AG. You see we're moving forward on the timeline, when Viscarium forces attacked Triaxis. Fighting alongside allies from other worlds, the Skyfire Legion drove back the invaders at the Battle of Aldera. We're going to move forward a little bit, but in 41 AG, the Absalom Pact was signed, and that joined the independent planets of the Pact worlds, and that's sort of our main playground. Strangely, as they even mentioned, Dread Eox was the first power to sign the pact, which is, I thought, was very interesting. Okay. The Viscarium and the Pact Worlds remained in war for the next 250 years, okay? The conflict ended only when a vicious world-devouring entity called the Swarm attacked both systems simultaneously in 291 AG. So if I'm flipping back over here to the complex map, you have the Pact Worlds up here, you have the Viscarium over here in near space, but if I zoom in over here on the bottom left, you can see the Swarm, and areas that are in Swarm quarantine and such, because this is that entity that was attacking, that at least, common enemies, that's a thing. Talk about galaxy-wide amnesia. There's so much room to play in the gap. I think it's actually fascinating, because who knows what happened.
It's actually hard, in my opinion. Like when I ran Starfinder, you could have an entire campaign on one city on one planet, and it would still be a Starfinder campaign. But then to try to travel between planets and all kinds of drift travel and all kinds of stuff is wild.
I think that is a very, very good point when coming from the perspective of GMing perhaps Starfinder for the first time, and that's something we'll get into as well. Starfinder, sci-fi, even, let's just take the word sci-fi as a genre, is a very wide genre. It can mean so much to different people. So if I sign up for a sci-fi campaign and my brain is thinking of, a bit more cyberpunky in nature, and somebody else goes in and they're thinking more horror-y in nature of exploring space and the creepiness of space. And then some people are thinking, honestly, sci-fi, but also fantasy intermixed. There's so many ways to approach it. And as you were saying, Waffles, it's so conceptually vaster than what you're used to playing in. Usually when you create a homebrew fantasy campaign, you're like, okay, let me make a world, or let me make a continent, and that's where you play. And with space involved, that scales up so massively. I think that's part of why this book is as intense and big and detailed as it is.
I mean, from a GM perspective, I fully believe Starfinder is a scaled down for more type thing. So
Explain.
In our Starfinder campaign, you would jump from one planet to another. You would know the city you're going to on that planet, and you'd have the planet introduce you. You went to the Adari, blah blah blah. But it was never here, where would you like to go in the entirety of Pact Worlds?
Yep. I understand. All right.
Hard to run a sandbox, I guess.
We're going to jump forward to figure out what is happening right now. So we're going to I'll try to bullet point, but okay. Basically, because of the swarm that came in, the Pact Worlds and the Viscarium signed a alliance. Then, interestingly, there was also a peaceful offshoot of the swarm that arrived at 83 AG, calling themselves Sheerans, and that is an ancestry that you're able to play as well. And then in 240 AG, the world ship. So it's that's how they kind of define it. It's not just a regular ship because it is utterly massive for a spaceship. It is a world ship. The Adari arrived carrying Kasathas in search of a new home. And then both the Sheerans and the Adari joined the Pact Worlds. And then the emergence of the Drift. Here's a fun thing, because we'll talk about Starstone and something you're familiar with. With the emergence of the Drift and the Starstone's newly discovered status as a drift beacon, which was a very interesting thing, thrust the Pact system into the center of galactic trade, travel, and upheaval. So basically, the Starstone of Absalom Station, on its own, somehow was also a drift beacon. Not just any drift beacon, a very powerful drift beacon, which allows a whole bunch of trade. So basically, if you're headed towards Absalom Station, it's very quick because it's such a strong beacon. So it is a massive trade hub. It is
from basically anywhere in the galaxy.
Exactly. So that makes Absalom Station quite interesting. Until suddenly the drift crash. Now I think the drift crash, or the drift crisis, is actually one of the adventure paths that they were doing with the Starfinder Society before Starfinder 2e, so I really like how they kind of, as always, put that all together into the lore. The drift crisis, basically, and this one did crack me up. Okay, so the drift crash in 321 AG shattered the status quo, ejecting ships out of the drift at random and stranding them in deep space or on other planes of existence when the drift and its beacons mysteriously stopped working. Eventually, heroic troubleshooters solved the drift crisis by reprogramming Triune's crashed divine servers in Alluvion. I think that's the funniest way to fix this. Hey, Triune, god of drift travel, it's not working. Have you tried restarting it?
Have you turned yourself on and off yet? Or off and on yet?
Yes, divine servers. Divine tech support. It's actually hilarious. I do love it. Now, the drift returned better than ever. Drift beacons flared back to life. And then new shortcuts called drift lanes emerged, connecting worlds separated by great distance for the first time. So if you don't read this paragraph right here, talking about the superhighways for trade, piracy, and war, it would be really, really hard to understand what these lines are, like the Charge of the Inheritor or Jatembe's Jaunt, are on the map. But here is where I was like, oh, cool, they're superhighways. Got it.
Yeah, and the wild part for me is it doesn't appear in the timeline, and so if you haven't played Starfinder 1e through the Drift Crisis, you probably know nothing about it.
True. Okay, now let's bring things forward to today, quote unquote, or future today. You know what I'm trying to say. I want to stake on the superhighway. There's a lot of cool things I think one could do with the superhighways, to be honest. Like run a fast food station.
Nugget. Albert Nugget station.
Albert Nuggets in space. That's my okay. Trademark that. I want to do that. Like in Spaceballs. Exactly. Okay, so a new pact. In 323 AG, Breathida's moons, Daikon, Kalamahoy, and Murata were finally granted full Pact World status and given seats on the Pact Council. The moons have been self-governing for years, but this change is more than a formality and has shifted the balance of power between the Barathu conglomerates controlling the system's two gas giants and the people living on their moons. Already, even in that sentence, you can tell there is so much lore, there is so much stuff that you can go into. So always bear in mind, I'm going to mention a lot of proper nouns that are like places, things, people. You can search it in the PDF. You could look through it in the book. It'll go through. There's sections on like the planets. There's important people. That's most of the stuff that we're probably not going to cover tonight, because again, it's a lot. But know that if there's ever something of interest that you're like, wait, this politics or this thing sounds interesting to me, I want to learn more, you can go and find more about it. And if you're like, hey, this is where I want to put my campaign, you can absolutely do that. Okay. The diaspora gained pact status the same year, the diaspora being, again, the asteroid belt, putting a loose coalition of Sarkeesians in charge of governing responsibilities that many of them feel ambivalent about enforcing. Then, Polonus, at the time known as Vesk 6, declared independence from this Veskarium after the last occupying forces abandoned their world, and elected leaders on Polonus soon announced their desire to join the Pact Alliance, so that's why in that in the map that we showed you that. Okay. Let's move forward. Yes.
Just 1 year prior to that, because I think this is going to be very important for Starfinder 2e, the battle for Kitaria instigated the Aslanti-Veskarium War. So now, like, the Aslanti people and the Vesks are at war, basically.
Okay, so this is happening right around the same time as all of this is happening.
Yeah, it's 324 AG, and then 325 AG is current year.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, the birth... War now? Yes. War
now? Yes. They're both conquerors. It's like Genghis Khan and someone else like going at war for the entirety of space.
Yep, and we actually do see some of their forces here at some point. So here we go. We have the Aslanti Star Empire over here. But what does that mean? I don't know. I still don't know how to read that map. That'll be consistent. Okay, the birth of the newborn. That's the theme. I will kind of put like a very odd trigger warning just ahead of the majority of this new era, which is the era of a new god being born. There's a lot of themes of birth, babies, mothers, cosmic horror, that kind of stuff. So that's just a content warning at this point. It was a little bit uncomfortable for me, like, but I do understand it's definitely leaning into the more cosmic horror side of things. So just keep that in mind. But okay, the birth of the newborn. So the galaxy witnessed the coming of a new god in 324 AG. The newborn, also called Octurn's child. So let me just jump back here real quick, because I don't know if it'll still be there. Is it there? Is it there? Is it there? It's not there anymore. So Octurn was here, right? Wasn't Octurn?
No, Octurn is not a planet in the Pact Worlds.
It's not?
No,
was it
for sure.
At some point?
I am unsure about
yes,
that.
Yes, it was. Octurn was the 10th planet in the Calarian system. Okay.
Okay.
I was like, hold on, this is very important. Okay.
I was like, I know it is not now.
Which is why we didn't see it. Okay. But I believe in Starfinder 1E it was. Octurn was a whole nother planet. Okay. So the newborn is an emerging outer god of birth, cosmic horrors, paradigm shifts, and renewal. The newborn's hatching sent psychic ripples across the Pact worlds and far beyond, causing some people to fear for the uncertain future, while others are celebrating the beginning of a new cosmic era. Okay, so Octurn was a warped and barren world enveloped in an atmosphere of toxic gases and hallucinogenic vapors. What we find out from reading through this, and I'll try to summarize it for you, was that it was never a true planet. It was an egg of an unborn god. And basically there was Karsai the king, who just was like self-proclaimed living avatar that worshipped a different god, was siphoning the divine like power from this egg to for his own deeds and own misgivings and all that good stuff. Gross. God omelet. And basically,
who knew that gods laid eggs?
The siphoning of the divine powers kept it as an egg for a very long time. Okay. However, until suddenly, let me also not forget about the midwives. It's just so weird to me. All right. So then you have the midwives. The only people that were opposing Karsai, the evil dude, for the longest time was the midwives, which is a cult of powerful spellcasters dedicated to nurturing Octurn's child. They basically just patiently waited on this hallucinogenic planet and waited for the birth. But because of the magic vapors exhaled by the unholy planet, basically they lived far longer than they ever should live. Okay? Basically, it was a stalemate between Octurn's king, this bad dude Karsai, and the midwives to keep the trying to keep the embryo alive. Okay. All of a sudden, that was broken by Shaylin. We know Shaylin from Pathfinder, an ancient, in this case now ancient, goddess of beauty, love, and music, who was worshipped on Lost Galarian. That's what we call it now, Lost Galarian. Basically, she showed up out of nowhere and challenged Karsai. Then she fought him. She fought him for a really long time. Apparently what Shaylin has been doing up until now is searching all the far reaches of reality as a way to save her brother, Dubral, which we know as Zon-Kuthon. Okay. If you don't know that lore, I will not go into it. That is Pathfinder lore. But it is very interesting. Okay, so after she figures out the truth about Octurn, she goes to war and is fighting for it. Now, basically, huge battle, epic battle between gods.
Pew, pew.
Pew, pew.
Stormtroopers.
Now, Shaylin falters at the very last moment. And at the very last moment, she cries out for her brother, and to whom she had, tried and failed to help for so long. But part of Dubral, who still lived within the Twisted God Zon-Kuthon, the plea reached him. He showed up and took the killing blow. This massive thing. There's gasps across the galaxy. And basically, trying to save each other, the divine siblings merged. And now their reunion created Zon Shaylin, who was strong enough to defeat the foul outer god and banished him from this reality. I do want to
Anime moment
wholeheartedly. Yeah, they merged. It's wild. So now, how do I put this?
they did the fusion ha dance.
Okay, that's my thing. Karsai was the king of the planet who worshipped an outer god. I want to just, my asterisk clarification is that Shaylin wasn't fighting Karsai. She was fighting Karsai's god, the outer god. So it was like god versus god, not god versus mortal. Just to clear that up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Karsai fell when his god disappeared, and then his power flowed into the newborn, and finally giving it the strength to hatch from Octurn. Okay. This is the moment that changes everything, okay?
So he was an incubator.
Yeah, well, kind of.
Just saying.
Octurn shatters the planet egg thing, shatters into millions of pieces. So yes, egg omelet thing, god omelet. What is it? Who said it? God omelet. There you go.
God omelet. It was really just shelling out.
Oh, boo. Okay. So here's the thing. The newborn's birth. This is so strange. The newborn's birth spawned hideous miracles. Clipping that now. Hideous miracles into this reality. Its psychic cries reverberated across space. The 13 midwives who were present at the birth transformed into new eldritch entities empowered to serve the newborn. Now the newborn's first birth scream, which is, this whole paragraph sounds so strange to me. Clearly this is just not my area of themes. I don't know. It's not my thing. First birth screamed disrupted magic across the galaxy, shattering ancient wards, causing psychic outbursts, and transforming natural sources of magic. So, TLDR, there is now a chain of events that has happened to impact the entirety of the Pact Worlds. So all of this, basically this lore, is the start of this era of the Pact Worlds. I think that's how they're starting Starfinder 2E, which is really cool. All right.
Can I read a random sentence I found?
Yes.
That just hits me.
Wait,
different?
if it's not,
I'm not sure if you've made it there yet, but it's very close to what you're talking about.
Okay, there's just one word that I do need to say. I want to show everybody.
Okay. Do it.
Okay. In the changes of the Pact Worlds, okay, y'all? Changes to the Pact Worlds. We'll go through it. There's lots of stuff. But I'm just going to read this sentence to you because I had to read it before, and now you have to read it with your own eyes as well. I'll even highlight it. We'll read it together, okay? Right after the hatching, midwife Amnieka traveled to Absalom Station in search of a power source to help them free the newborn from its Planetcenta.
Oh, yeah. Not the Planetcenta.
It's the Planetcenta. I'll shake the hand of whoever thought that up. I'll hate it, but I'll shake it.
Not the Planetcenta.
Not the Planetcenta.
Okay. The one thing I wanted, like, after all this lore that you dropped, there's clearly more going on, but this just screams like a goddess to me, or a god or a goddess to me, because they only care about like what they care about. You know how they have the pantheons and everything. So Shaylin, after discovering the truth about Octurne, went to war for the fate of its progeny, sensing strange beauty in the eldritch embryo. So like after all this, Shaylin like sensed some kind of strange beauty in this eldritch horror baby and went to fight for it.
That was before. That was the fight, the big fight that I was talking about. So that was.
Was it? Okay. My bad.
No, all good. That was why basically she showed up, because she sensed some weird beauty in its.
Yeah.
Weirdness.
Weird beauty in its weirdness.
And it's Planetcenta.
I have spoilers coming up for Hunter x Hunter.
Okay.
But this reminds me of the birth of the prince. If anyone knows that, that's all I'll say.
That does absolutely, yes. Hunter x Hunter reference for the win. Okay. So spoilers for a very, very old anime that I technically still haven't finished. So don't yell at me. All right. So changes to the Pact World. So everything that's happening now. So some awakened new psychic senses or lost control of their powers, but a whole bunch of people, and there is an ancestry that is very particularly like psychic. I think is it the Sheer? No, I always get these wrong. It's not the Sheer.
The Sheeran are pretty psychic.
Is it the Sheeran?
But I think that's because of the swarm.
It might be Sheeran.
The brains are also highly psychic.
Yeah, there's a couple of ancestries that are very, very highly psychic, so they were particularly impacted by this. But basically, everybody had visions of the egg-like planet cracking open, releasing a kaleidoscope of ineffable emotions and sensations. Other dreams involved 13 hooded figures screaming in joy and pain as their bodies transformed into monstrosities, and a darkly beautiful god spiting a formless void with a glaive of rainbow light. Shaylin. Spoilers. The only world whose people were untouched by the visions was Avalon. Okay, so now got to the paragraph that I talked about where the midwives are now basically eldritch horror-like beings that are all over different things. The Starstone, as midwife Amnieka got close to Absalom Station, the Starstone stuttered as Amnieka leached its power. And so there's a whole bunch of changes on Absalom Station now as they manifested ghost levels and pulled frightened people into liminal corridors and ghostly tunnels left over by the space station's forgotten creation. The supernatural cries temporarily disrupted Castrovel's psychic infosphere. So Lashuntas, that's what I was thinking of. Lashuntas and Formians were among the populations most affected by visions of Octurne's destruction. Basically, you're going to go through here and you'll see all of the impacts to the Pact Worlds. So there's two that I want to call out specifically, okay? The Kasatha world ship, which we talked about, the Adari. Basically, the Adari have decided that they're leaving the system. They're leaving the Pact Worlds. But the first shockwave from the hatching damaged the Adari shields, causing a whole bunch of issues. So that's one. And so because of that, it says Octern hatching is only the latest in a series of catastrophes hitting the Pact Worlds, and the ships governing Doyanate has voted to risk the unknown rather than stay in such a dangerous system. There's so much you could play there for a campaign, for example. So they're preparing to launch the massive vessel, which will take years because it's, again, massive. And then there are some cool things where basically it messed up the security systems of the prison planets, for lack of a better word. They had
like Diagox.
Yep.
And they like all the prison planets, I think. The high security prison planets, at least.
Yep. It did some really weird things to the diaspora, to the asteroid belt. Where is the one that I'm looking for? Triaxis. There's so many things. Okay, so now you have these shards of a planet that are, this Planetcenta. Gotta use the word when it's appropriate, y'all. That are dispersed into the Gelid edge. So that's something that people are now trying to harvest. Note that this change, while it is incredibly scary for a lot of people, also basically established a new cult or new religion or whatever you want to call it, that are called Newbornites.
Planetcentites.
I wish.
That'd be a good one.
Hello.
Hi, Eric.
Okay, so looking through everything. Okay, yes, Dagox 4 security systems failed in a corporate-sponsored planetary prison. Lots of crazy stuff going on. Here, by the way, is that very useful timeline if you're interested. Okay, and then lastly, I want to talk about Shimmerstone, because I think this is also a big piece of what they're kind of throwing in here. In the Compensatorium Collective, security faltered in a reformatory for miscreant artificial intelligences on the gas giant Preluria. Oh, no, sorry. Shimmerstone. Okay. A blue crystal with calming psychoactive properties turned red and enraged the miners of Vesk 8, causing destructive riots. People exposed to large concentrations of red shimmerstone began suffering from shimmerstone fever, a supernatural ailment diagnosed by violent urges and red skin rashes of a rocky texture. And some Kothama mystics on Vesk 8 transformed from stone seers who find reflections of prophetic truth in shimmerstone, becoming rage seers who channel the warped rock's fury. So, easy to say. There's a lot of stuff going on.
It's the Eldritch Catalyst, Shimmerstone.
Yeah. And the one that I don't know if I missed, there was, Triaxis. That was the only other one I wanted to mention. Triaxis. Triaxis had already reached its most distant point of orbit when Octern hatched. The shockwave catapulted Triaxis back towards the sun, and that melted winter ice and woke up hibernating monsters. Storms and unnatural rot spread across the world as Triaxians struggled to adapt to an unnatural summer, which is predicted to last for centuries. So it basically knocked Triaxis completely out of its orbit, changing the entire ecosystem. So there's a lot about that as well. Then he gives you a nice section about the newborn in campaigns and how all the different ways in which you can incorporate this lore into whatever plots you have.
This galaxy sounds screwed, says a
Galaxy sounds screwed, or there's just enough chaos to make for lots of interesting adventures. Okay.
So to go right back around in my circle, what I was saying earlier, you could literally have an entire campaign on like the Adari.
Yes.
And boom, like
because it's a whole planet, so you do got to make sure when you're sort of planning these things that you have a game plan of ways to make sure that you're playing Starfinder, that you're playing in sci-fi, you're playing in space. And to be honest, you can if you want to just do it on a planet. So that's actually exactly what we're gonna get into. At least that's what the book's gonna get into. We're gonna jump around a little bit to be mindful of time here. So the next section, and I just do love this picture, so I wanted to share it with you all. I thought it was very nicely done. And you have a little map, which is so cute. I think, is it of Castrovel or Galarian World? Oh.
Yeah, this is like a, yeah.
Hold on, can I do 2-page view? Okay, hopefully y'all can see this clearly. Perfect. If you look at the little map at the bottom here, it is like a Universal or Disney.
Park.
It's Galarian World.
And they have a little souvenir of like a ship right there in the planet.
Yep. So you have Cheliax Land, Absalom Island, Osirian Land. Oh, that's so cute. Taldor Land. I'm trying to read upside down here. And Shackles Land and Mwangi Land. I thought that's really, really genius.
Mwangi Land. Nice.
Okay. So let me talk about the next section because I think it's really awesome the way they did this. And what I'm going to say is I don't know that we have time. So I want to skip down first and then I'm going to come back to this section. So if you look at the right here, we are in the section called Adventures. Okay. And I think this is a really nice way to bite size the different planets that you can encounter. There's so much information, right? And this is obviously the galaxy guide. And so they want to give you as much information as possible. But if you just were going through planet, like that's a lot to eat in one go. So yes, eat, like digest. You know what I'm saying? So they broke it into types of potential sci-fi adventures that you might want to tell. And then they give you some light information on the relevant planets that might make for good, relevant areas for that type of campaign. So we have dystopian adventures, high-tech adventures, fantasy adventures, war-torn adventures, into the unknown, horror, and weird. And I do like that horror and weird are two separate parts here.
I mean, weird is very funny. It just says it's like kind of a cult or anything that doesn't fit into every other section we already did.
Yeah, that's fair. So what I'm going to do instead is jump to, and so okay, so if we look here, we have the adventures, right? What I just read. Then you do talk about different ports of calls, which might be areas that either are not mentioned in the other adventures or additional information. I think there's just main hubs as well, like Absalom Station. So I think we should jump to ports of call. And then Waffles, do you want to jump to the backgrounds there?
Yeah, I can give. I went through the backgrounds, and the way they laid them out was like they're like, these are dystopian backgrounds designed for dystopian campaigns. They really try to bite size it because there's so much sci-fi. Like, I mean, if you think about it, you can go from Firefly to Star Wars to Star Trek to Dead Space. Like,
Yeah.
those are all different kinds, and they tried to bite size it for what people want to play.
Yep.
And so I just picked like 3 backgrounds from each that I thought like really encompassed each of the things.
Okay. I will say that they might, because we haven't gone into those sections ourselves, like it might be missing some stuff, but honestly you'll have to get through the book yourself and really take a look at all that to get everything. So
Yeah, there's just not enough time in the world.
yeah. So okay, backgrounds. So dystopian recommended ones. So we have Arena Veteran, which some say the red sands of Akiton get their color from the blood spilled in the arenas of Arl. Let me zoom in so I can read properly. And you've spilled your share as a gladiator. You might be from Akiton, Eox, or anywhere blood sports are popular. That makes sense. Or just to give like a range or junker, another person that trashes your treasure. You might trawl the diaspora for salvage or scour the junk heaps of Akiton for useful gear. And you get Junker lore for that and the quick repair skill feat. I think that they're all, as always, this is just to give you a taste of what Starfinder backgrounds are. They're very much like Pathfinder backgrounds, but obviously flavored, or like a rare one, the Dagox convict. You or your parents were sentenced to live on the corporate prison planet Dagox 4. You might be a career criminal tired of serving time, a reformed villain ready to turn over a new leaf, or an innocent doomed by circumstance. When control went down, you escaped into a new life of adventure. So I think that has so much potential. I'd have a lot of fun, but you would be wanted.
Yeah.
That's really cool, though. Gain the lengthy diversion skill feat. That's cool. And underworld lore. Cool. All right. We're not going to get into all of these. So, Waffles, give me, like, any other one you want to look into, like any other section.
Sure. So two. Can I give you two?
Yeah.
Fantasy background. I thought Scam Mage was pretty cool.
Let's look at our fantasy. Where I'm gonna skip it, aren't I? Where'd you go?
It's right after Explorer.
Oh, so like
Dystopian Explorer fantasy, like next page.
There it is. There it is. Okay, which one? You say Scam Mage?
Scam Mage. Yeah.
Okay. You can't cast spells, but mimic spell work well enough to convince others you have magical powers. You've pretended to be a magical adept for so long you've learned to fool magic items into working at your touch. Wait, that's so cool.
Yeah, I thought that one was pretty cool.
And you gain the trick magic item feat. That's sick. That's so cool. Okay.
And then the last one is it's a rare one, but it's Quantum Clone.
In which section is this?
The very last section, it's in Weird.
It's in Weird.
They have Fashionista, Ghosted, Joro Clone, Quantum Clone.
Quantum. Okay. Thank you. I saw this, and I'm so glad that you brought this up. I'm not gonna lie. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, and not Joro clone? Can I talk? Can I do?
You can do
Okay.
Joro Clone if you want. I just didn't really like super want to go into that one, so I thought Quantum Clone was good.
Look at Joro. This is Joro. This is a Joro clone. You see them on the right? Great. Excellent. Wonderful. You were an inhabitant of Community Test Vault 341 of Salvation's End. One among hundreds of identical clones of your parent, Jorah. You're a non-binary human with the same average appearance, cheerful attitude, and goofy humor as your fellow clones. Your birth name is Joro, just like the others, but you distinguish yourself with a nickname based on a hobby or occupation, such as Baker Joro or Gamer Joro. Now you're looking for your place in the wider galaxy.
It's so goofy.
That's hysterical, actually.
So goofy. Gamer Jorah.
I'll be Artist Joro. I want a game of Oops All Joros, actually.
I mean, it'll happen because of this.
Yes, wholeheartedly. Okay, let's talk Quantum Clone because you wanted to look at that one. You are a perfect copy of another individual. So if you don't want to be Joro, it's okay. You could be another clone.
Yeah.
You were created in a lab accident, or you were spontaneously born from some anomaly. You might share the original's memories and talents. Ooh, very interesting.
I just thought that one was really like open-ended to have like a lot of fun.
You could like hand the reins off to your GM with enough trust and communication, and just be like, "Fuck me up, Cap." Like make me suffer.
You got me, Cap.
Oh, I love it. Rune touched. How interesting.
There's so much.
There is so much. Okay, we can't get there.
Even Drag said tech troll, which I thought was kind of funny. It's like using tech to like play jokes on other people.
Okay, so Jack just asked chat what background here best describes you. I also want to ask, what Joro are you? Get in the comments on YouTube as well. Just tell me what Joro you are. I do like that Fashionista is its own. Listen, backgrounds are a lot in Pathfinder. Now just scale that up to Starfinder, and there's just so much.
Yeah, I mean, you still got your normals like, you're a pickpocket. You're a tourist.
Yes.
But then you can have dumb normals like, you're a taxi driver.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look at this pretty picture. Factions in the galaxy. Um, Jack, do you recognize any one of these? I know we're gonna focus for sure on a certain faction here because of Drac, who is an avid fan of a certain group. Let's see if you
He really loves Abadar Core.
definitely Abadarkor, right? I want to be Chef George.
Chef Juro. I will say that Lashunta is the one in the bottom left right there.
Planetcentas that we were talking about. Think in Guardians of the Galaxy. Very Lashunta coded. I am a.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. At this point, Waffles, do you want to jump to factions, and then come back up?
Sure. I mean, we're an hour in and we have like 10 more hours of content to go.
Yeah, I know. Okay, we are going to talk about this briefly. I'm not going through everything, and I'm going to change back to our single page view here. All right. Abadar Core. Look at this Kasatha. So in the one little Starfinder campaign that we did, I played a Kasatha. So I personally deep dived into Idari lore, Kasatha lore, how the Doyanite operates and everything. So if you have a specific question on them, that I could probably answer, but not much else. Okay, so these are the factions, and I like this because, it just gives you a taste of starting points and then kind of just like the main players of the worlds that you can entertain and homebrew in and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Start with Abadar Core. Abadar Core. Yes, as in Abadar, the deity of Pathfinder. So Abadar is a faith-based mega corporation. Okay? Got it? Good. They sponsor hundreds of offshoots and create thousands of jobs. So Absalom Station, majority run by Abadar Core. Like lots of other factions in there as well, because of course Absalom Station's massive. It's like New York City in terms of how packed and busy it is. But they are major stakeholders there for sure. So consumers everywhere recognize Abadar Core's golden key and pyramid. Where's the key, by the way? I was just looking at that. Somebody in the comments tell me what the key is.
I mean, you're clearly not a believer.
Clearly. Most have probably visited the megacorps, banks, and mega malls in just about every outpost in known space. But Abadar Core's influence extends far beyond branding. Abadar Core's... Is it Abadar Corp or Abadar Core? I'm going to keep saying Core.
I think it's Abadar Core.
Okay. Abadar Core's involved with countless civilizations and industries across the galaxy, sponsoring hundreds of offshoots, creating thousands of jobs. Abadar Core does not require employees to convert or attend worship services, but all business decisions and operations follow Abadar's teaching. The true believers worship through commerce and propagation of their god's ideals, welcoming people of other faiths into the workplace with open arms, aka capitalistic religion.
Yeah. The deity of capitalism, as Drax says.
Absolutely. Okay, that's it for Abadar. We're not getting into everything else. There's plenty of cool stuff. Look at these Abadar reps. We will look at art. We'll always stop to look at art. This Abadar Core rep fighting to keep their briefcase. This one has opened their briefcase. Briefcases.
Briefcases.
Dun.
Can I read their goal, like Abadar Core's goal?
Yes, absolutely. And I will be right back while you do so.
Yeah. I went through each. I might go into like the free captains after this too. But I went through each of these and just wrote down like a quick goal of what I thought they were. So the goal of Abadar Core is to foster free trade and help civilization grow while creating a corporate entity worthy of a god. So they literally want to make Abadar Core wants to make their entity worthy of a god, which is wild to me. I'll go into the free captain. Actually, I'll jump down to she's probably going to do Hell Knight, so I'll jump down to the Starfinder Society real quick, just because they're important. They're just adventures exploring the stars. Incredibly diverse and countless people that have come together to explore the galaxy and record their discoveries. They've had many different kinds of goals. usually revolving around whoever the first seeker or the leader of the Starfinder Society is at that time. But their goals very much just revolve around explore space, discover space, write it down, like record space. I know in the quick Starfinder game that we played, it was about the Starfinder Society and finding out what happened in the gap. Beeblespoot Corp is short for corporation and pronounced corp. Cores is pronounced core. Both basically the same thing. You pirates so lawless. Yeah, let's jump to pirates. We love pirates. Free captains. They are a faction of leaderless alliance of outlaws and pirates that follow the Broken Rock Oath. The oath is no conflicts between pirates outside of sanctioned duels, lists untouchable clients, and prevents pledgers from sharing secrets with pirates not sworn to the Black Flag, which is the oath, basically. Their goal is like each pirate crew kind of pursues their own agenda, has their own goal, but the hierarchy of needs is usually safety and survival, riches, glory. And they like you'll find a lot of them in and around the diaspora.
Amazing. I apologize if the scrolly scroll wasn't scrolling alongside this.
Oh yeah, I do not control the scrolly scroll.
That's okay. All right, so these are the free captains. You talked to them. I did want to call out, I love the logo of the free captains. Look at that cute little thing, which I believe there's a special version of the Galaxy Guide that comes with this logo on it, and it's like spray painted on, and it's really cute. Okay. Look at this space pirate, and look at how round their face is. Just so cute. All right, let's
Rawr.
What's next? Oh,
hit the Hell Knights.
Hit the Hell Knights. Let's go. Look,
it's that time.
Hell Knights in space.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's take a look at the Hell Knights. Okay, so Hell Knights are infernal knights. So first of all, I'm gonna basically talk to Drac, but this is to all the Hell Knight fans out there. There's some changes. Let me tell you, there are some changes going on to them. So Hell Knights are infernal knights who live by an ancient discipline they call the measure and the chain, inherited from Lost Galarian. Hell Knights are infamous for ruthlessly enforcing order and fraternizing with devils. Hell Knight orders travel in massive citadel ships, bringing rule to lawless and untamed regions of space with violence if necessary, allying with Embroy, the Gitteron Authority, the Viscarium, and other oppressive regimes in near space and the vast, keeping their historical pact world's holdings free of stain. So, yes, citadel ships I think is sick.
Yeah, they're so wild, but like basically it comes down to we want law and order, but we don't want to rule.
It's fascinating.
Like they have no care to rule whatsoever.
I was looking at this, and I don't know if I managed to look through everything, but I would love to know about the fraternizing with devils as that pertains in Starfinder, because that's something that I don't hear a lot about, like, and maybe that would be also in the fantasy section of some of these campaigns, but
yeah,
you know, we had the different realms, right? Like we had the first world, like in Pathfinder, we have these other planes of existence, and in Starfinder, like, did those disappear? I don't believe so. And how do those come into play? Because things like devils are from another plane, and if they fraternize with them, then that means it still exists. So I would love to know more about that.
They definitely didn't disappear, because one of the things you read earlier, when people got shunted outside of the drift, sometimes they went to a different plane of existence.
Exactly. But so I would love to know what devils in space look like, I guess.
That's true. I mean, their major NPCs, the third one is Lictor Lumark, which is a fanatical male devil soldier.
Cool. All right, we'll see some pictures. But normally I wouldn't go into as much detail, but I know we had a very special request, so I will look into this. I just want to give Drac a taste of the Hell Knights order, what happened after the gap, because their Hell Knight orders fractured. The Order of the Chain split to form the Order of the Eclipse, and schisms ripped through the Order of the Pyre. So some crusaded into the Vast, where they were defeated by void-touched horrors. The orders that survived have relied on time-forged traditions and diabolic allies bolstered by modern tech and hyperspace travel using the Hell Drive. So there is a hyperspace travel unique to the Hell Knights called a Hell Drive, which is super cool. And then
I wonder if that lets them jump through hell, like the plane of hell, like it was the drift. You know,
that would be so cool.
it would.
That would be so cool. So yes, Hell Knights enforce law and order in the galaxy without desiring rulership. They don't support any corporation or government directly. They bow only to hell. But organizations can sponsor an order to carry out missions that align with the order's goals and philosophy. Hell Knights hope for peace on their strict terms, but prepare for violence. So only the Chain and Pyre are the only Galarian Hell Knight orders that survived the gap. So here are the orders. Oh, wait. Oh, okay, wait. I promised you the best picture of a Hell Knight that you have ever seen. And let me introduce to you Skittermander Hell Knight. Look at him.
2 fire swords and a gun.
Okay, if you don't know about Skittermanders, they may or may not be the best ancestry in Starfinder.
They're the best by far.
So here are the orders that are currently around in Starfinder for the Hell Knights: the Order of the Chain, the Order of the Crucible, Order of the Eclipse, Order of the Pyre. There you go.
The Order of the Pyre. Purge subversive media with fire.
Purging subversive text with fire. Hey, sure. So, and feel free to pause and read that if you need. Now, one thing I didn't mention, each of these factions that we're talking about has basically a archetype that you can play into. So you can have the Space Pirate dedication or the Hell Knight dedication and things like that. So just something to keep in mind. Some more cool pictures. You said did you talk about the Knights of Galarian?
I did not. I talked about the Starfinder Society and the free captains.
Okay. I think honestly that might be enough for the factions. Know that there are, some more, but we talk a lot. There's not much time.
Yeah. There's the Knights of Galarian and the Xenowardens for major factions that are left.
Okay. So I'm looking through some pictures for the Starfinder agents. They're so cute. I like it. And then the Xenoarchaeologist. So basically, if you're interested to learn about the gap, tell me if you agree with this, Waffles. If you're interested to learn about the gap and you think your character is somebody that would be focused on that, then you're probably wanting to focus on the Starfinder Society and take the Xenoarchaeologist dedication. Does that sound about
right? You could definitely go that route for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, there's no one right way to do anything.
Yeah, that would definitely fall into it. I think there are others that might fall into it more or less, but yeah.
Okay, wait.
Like, cause go ahead.
Did I confuse? No, this is under Starfinder because you said there were Xenowardens as a separate.
There
faction.
are Xenowardens. They are, yeah.
Interesting. Is that did they mean to skip? What's this archetype then?
Xenowardens are usually psychically connected to a planet and can feel like the planet's like they're all about preserving the nature of that planet. Like each planet kind of has their own Xenowardens about them, blah 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 blah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so actually this is something that I'm interested to look in because this is not one that I had read yet. So talking about
Syrup is
golem stuff, I'd be very interested to learn more about Xenowardens. I think that fits perfectly into solar punk based things. So who knows, maybe these will pop up after I read them.
True, they're very cool.
You're not beating what furry allegations? What furry allegations?
You don't remember the really
Waffles.
hot dragonkin or whatever it was at the
You're
time.
not helping me here.
I'm your husband. I'm not supposed to help you.
Well, look at how cute this one is, though. Honestly, you know what? If we're pointing furry allegations out there, Jacob, where are you? I love you, Jacob. Okay. And then there is so many minor factions as well. I don't think we're gonna get into all of this.
Yeah, I'll just mention two super quick. The Aspis Consortium, which I'm sure like some people have heard of because I'm pretty sure it's still around in Galarian before
very
everything.
much so. Actually, I want to look.
And then the stewards, which are kind of the protectors of the Pact Worlds. They're like the special forces of the Pact Worlds, basically. Like if the stewards get called in, you're kind of done for.
So jumping to the Aspis Consortium really, really quickly, because this is one that I thought I've always been very interested in playing with, and like I never just have had the opportunity to. So the Aspis Consortium and Pathfinder, a bunch of kind of like rogue. They're traders, and but they're very what's the word, like under black market kind of like vibes.
Yeah.
So they've kept that theme wholeheartedly. They are just now literally a notorious syndicate. So
nefarious.
Very nefarious, very fun to mess around with your players for, because they hide their nefarious deeds behind public works. So literally notorious syndicate with a sterling reputation. So like they're a powerful conglomerate. And like unlike in Pathfinder where like the whole thing is seedy, like now they have a front. And then they have like a whole bunch of assassins and spies behind the thing. So I think it's just really fun.
Very Dune-esque in my opinion.
Yes. The other one I wanted to point out was Zoe Media. Because there's one thing that I thought was really funny. So Zoe Media apparently is a cult of personality and media megacorp, founded by the undead celebrity Zoe. Does come with the exclamation mark. This media studio is infamous for producing a host of popular programs screened in the Pact Worlds with enthusiastic followings all over the galaxy. So is it like my headcanon is immediately like trash TV. Like
yeah.
Like it is oh my god, what's the word? Reality TV. Yeah. And no shame on that, by the way. I bring that up because I saw something elsewhere. Also, look at this art. Crazy. That's so cool. So cool.
So cool.
Yes, you can play video games, by the way, in Starfinder. That's a fun thing.
You definitely can. You can play video games. You can be like a media person.
Okay, so based off of time, we do have some ancestries.
This might be it, right?
Yeah, so what we've done is we've given you a lot of the data, but without like any of the worlds or the lore or anything like that. Which is a lot, but that there's no way we can get through everything. So as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. If you are ever interested in this, what we do here, because we do try to review each of the books as we get them. If you were like, hey, this is coming and I'm really excited. So for example, like Drac who loves the Hell Knights, and they came in the Discord earlier. So if you're a part of our breakfast club, we do open up questions to you ahead of time. So if you really want to make sure that we cover a certain topic or certain something, you're welcome to check us out. You can join our Discord. And of course, also the breakfast club is available to you. So just a quick shout out on that. So don't yell at me if we didn't cover what you want me to cover. Is the TLDR. Okay, so Waffles, you want to go briefly through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I actually read my work that I've done now?
Yes, you can.
Sheesh. Okay. I am pulling it up on my main screen, so stop me if you want to talk about something else.
I will do my best to kind of like put pictures up as you talk.
Yep. So we'll start with the Astrozoan. I gave each of these a very quick blurb. Astrozoan would be a shapeshifter, in my opinion. They have no clear origin or homeworld. They have malleable bodies, literally everything. Like they can take their intestines out of their bodies and digest food like outside of their bodies, kind of thing. And they end up changing to whatever form of the society they decide to adapt to, usually. So, like if they're going into contemplative society, they'll probably have a bigger brain and a smaller body rather than a human. Their normal form is a symmetrical starfish.
It says here that they have a peculiar natural shape that they rarely show to anyone.
Yes. So they rarely show that to anyone, honestly. I found this interesting. So they're a symmetrical starfish, 5 or 7 limbs. They often worship a different deity for each limb.
What?
Yeah, so they'll subscribe like a different deity. And subscribe's probably not the right word, but
Like
they'll
and subscribe.
like and subscribe for a different deity in each limb. Yeah, they basically like this limb follows this, and yeah. It doesn't go super into it in the book, but it does. That says literally that line. So.
Okay. Oh yes,
and
there's
then-
the starfishy body. I see.
And then they don't even know where they come from. I think is kind of an important piece of information.
Interesting. So I'm just jumping through here for again picture purposes because we like our
and
pictures.
you'll see a lot of the feats are about like shape shifting and stuff.
That's actually really cool. All right.
Yeah, I like it. All right, contemplative.
Look at those big brains.
Blurb, big brain, little body.
Big brain, little body.
They went through a magically guided evolution, which made each generation grow a larger brain and frailer bodies. This was to dedicate themselves to knowledge rather than the struggle of survival. They're one of there's not a lot of them. There are a couple, but they're one of the few ancestries with innate psychic abilities.
I like this picture. Yes, like it's just a big brain.
It is really just a big brain and a tiny body, like no joke.
Like I don't think you necessarily have eyes. It's just a brain.
Yeah, it's just psychic ability. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Dragonkin.
Wait. Finishing up with some pictures here.
Oh yeah.
I remember meeting in your campaign, Waffles. Basically, it was like I think a contemplative like professor.
Yeah,
that was a lot
they
of fun.
usually just despise other people as well,
Yo.
because they're by far smarter than most people they meet.
All right, Dragonkin.
Dragonkin. I actually found this one really interesting. I usually think Dragonkin is kind of a cop out of an ancestry because it's just like, oh, you're connected to dragons, cool. This one's actually about dragon stuff, and I say dragon stuff quote, so like wings, fire breath, blah blah blah, and a special bond. So they resemble dragons in appearance and their fierce loyalty. Their big thing is they can form an unbreakable bond with one other creature. It takes like an hour, which will end up giving them tactical synergies and telepathic communication with this one person.
That's really cool. So
And like prerequisite air quote, you have to have a deep emotional connection with that person.
So I want to add to this because I was reading earlier up on all of the different like types of adventures and the I'm trying to remember which one it was. So let me find I believe it is in the where is it? Not dystopian,
probably
not high
fantasy,
tech. It was
right?
in the fantasy adventures. Okay, Triaxis. If you get through here, and you want to, if you're interested in Dragonkin, you want to read up on Triaxis because that is where they formed basically. It talks about the history, talks about how the dragons bonded basically with the other population on that planet and basically made Dragonkin, which the bonding that happened is part of this. And I think that's a really cool way that they kind of like took the lore and took the history and then like flavored that into the ancestry. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah,
Look on Triaxis if you're interested in Dragonkin.
for sure. Last thing, their bond cannot be reformed until their first partner dies.
Oh,
So you can't just pick someone else.
that's important.
It is important.
I immediately want to play really fucked up Dragonkin that kills
Kills their
kills
partners
their
to make
partner
another
when they want to switch.
Ooh, I found the next one I like.
Going through some pictures here. Okay.
Yeah, and you'll see all their feats are literally dragon breath, or about flying in their wings, or their bond.
Mm-hmm.
Callow.
Callow.
I'm gonna call it a yeah, Callow. My blurb for this one is tough and creative.
Tough and creative.
So they're aquatic humanoids from a watery moon that orbits
Breathita.
Brethida. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yo, Google Docs does not want you to ever spell Brethida. Bethesda is what it wants you to say. Multiple times.
Oh, this is a really cool spaceship. So I really like that, like, in space, you don't have to worry. So, like, when you play in Pathfinder, there's, like, aquatic creatures as well. And you're like, well, but then I'm not going to have movement on land or something like that. Or I need to be, immersed in water every 24 hours. But, that's what spacesuits are for. So it's just
Yeah.
fixed by being in space.
Exactly. I actually have one thing about that. I will go up and say that contemplatives do have a fly speed. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, yes.
But there are actually like a lot of ancestors that have either fly or swim speeds, and a lot more in Starfinder than Pathfinder.
Cool.
The Callow art. Let's see, art and creativity at the center of their culture, along with fluid fighting styles. Like now that I have read about this is like one of the main things I want to play.
Which one?
The Callow.
Yeah, sorry. What?
Art and creativity are at the center of their culture, along with fluid fighting style. So it's very like they're very like water based almost.
So, and how does the creativity, like...
They just it's part like tough and creative. Like literally, like art and everything is a big part of their culture. Like I'm sure there is much more to read into it than that, but like it's talking about like performances and all kinds of stuff.
I'm sure there's an area of the adventure styles that we'll talk about their
Yeah.
society and all that jazz more. Okay.
Yep. And then they must submerge in water or don armor with environmental protections once every 24 hours.
That's what I see it. Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Sarkessian.
Sarkessian. Blurb. Space butterfly traveler. They are natural spacefarers gliding through space on
They're
butterfly
grinding
wings
what?
of energy. Gliding?
I know. Just fucking...
Gliding through space on butterfly wings of energy and light. They are patient survivors that embrace individualism and love travel. When they're in a vacuum, they sprout wings and can hold their breath. Well, I air quote hold their breath. They basically like can suspend their bodily functions for up to an hour.
Whoa.
And so they're like allowed to fly in space, basically, like without anything for an hour.
Their home is the asteroid belt, right? Their home is in the diaspora.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Look at that. That's very interesting. I don't know much about them at all.
They're hyper interesting. I don't know if I'd ever play them, but I would love to like meet one in a campaign.
Yeah. That's really cool. Huh. I'm looking at
And then we got the
All right. We can move
No, you're
forward, I
fine.
think.
then we got the Vlaka. Vlaka.
Ooh.
Blurb.
Damn it. I really am not denying the furry allegations. Okay, continue.
Yeah. Where's Jacob when you need him? The Vlaka blurb. Friendly space wolf dog. They are wolf-like nomads with thick fur coats. They come from like a very cold mountainous
Like huskies.
planet. Basically, yeah, like huskies. They have an incredible sense of smell and are often born deaf, blind, or deaf-blind.
Really?
What I thought was interesting, I think if you scroll up, I actually found this really interesting in terms of like trying to play them. But if you scroll up to like out of their feats into their main things, you get to pick different senses through their sensory diversity. So go up one more page, I believe.
Well, it's not this keen-sighted nomadic.
No, please.
There it is. Found it. All Vlakas have a keen sense of smell, gaining imprecise scent. Yeah. Oh, blind. Select what? Okay. In addition, each Vlaka is born with one of the following sensory arrays, which is what you mentioned. Blind, deaf, blind, or hearing /
But
sighted.
like, basic. I love picking like flaws for my characters, and basically this allows you to be like, I was born blind, but I get this. Like you gain hearing as a precise sense with 90 feet range if you're blind.
That's very interesting. I think it's very cool. I think this is very, very flavorful of a ancestry. I think that's really awesome.
Yep. And then a quick throw out because I know we all like it. They know sign language is a natural skill as well.
Ayo. Awesome. Okay. So those are the ancestries that are in this book.
There's 6 new ancestries that came out with for 2E.
That's really awesome. I like all of them, to be perfectly honest. I'm not responding to that, Jack.
Furry.
So there's nothing wrong with that. So I want to just, again, we don't have time to go into all of the adventures. So I just want to show you, I guess, because we never really just got into it. So let's talk just about the dystopian adventures to show you the kind of information. Because I know I talked about it like that. A lot of the planets are mentioned in each of these, and just how they sort of split it up, how they organized it. And so looking at for just the dystopian adventure, it talks about the kind of things you might expect in a dystopian adventure. So mega corporations competing to outdo one another, just a lot of different things here. Characters in dystopian campaigns tend to be morally gray, regardless of their personal values. They might be criminals, whether bandits, hackers, pirates, thieves, or even killers for hire.
I got heroes against oppression, villains cruel and greedy, and protagonists are often better described as anti-heroes.
Perfect. So you have that section where it tells you a little bit about, what dystopian adventures are like. Then it talks to you about campaign starters, and then adventure hooks, which is great. After that, in each section, it talks about a few of the planets. I know I have the little thing pulled up here. That's just for my ease. Let me know if it bothers you. I apologize that it shows up here. The bookmarks is what I'm talking about. So then it'll go into some of the planets that might be a good fit for dystopian, and that's how they showed some of the information for the different planets without it being like a laundry list of that. So we talk about Akiton because it's lawless. You talk about then within Akiton there's hotspots, culture, important faces, things like that, places of interest. And then it talks about how Akiton can show up in campaigns. So Akiton is a backdrop for gritty stories featuring desperate protagonists struggling to survive or activists fighting corruption and greed. So then it talks about things that you could see in encounter mode, things you could see in exploration mode, things you could see in downtime mode. So it's cool that they sort of broke each one up into that. You talk about Apostate, and then you'll see the same thing. You talk about Dagox 4, which is, again, that planet, high security prison planet. And they talk about that same stuff. And each of these also mentions how the birth of the god Planetcenta thingy also impacted some of this. So it gives you a lot of hooks, a lot of campaign hooks as well. The diaspora, etc. There's literally just one thing that I want to try to find, so bear with me as I scroll through here, and this will probably be what we end on unless anybody has any questions.
I'll just fill a little space here, and I want to say shout out to Paizo for this, because as we just went through the dystopian adventure really quick here, and it was like, this planet has all of these things. This planet, they literally have 6 planets for dystopian that has all of these things. You could just pick one, pick Akiton, and run an entire campaign. And then they went and did that, like, I think it's 6 times, maybe 7 times for a high-tech adventure, a fantasy adventure, a war-torn adventure, a horror adventure, into the unknown, and a weird adventure. So, like, you can just go through each of those and be like, I want to run a war-torn adventure. There's a lot of wars going on, and boom, you have a campaign as a GM.
Yep, exactly. I completely agree. I'm still looking for the thing. I apologize. It'll be funny, I promise. And just for example, like, you know, we mentioned Shimmerstone, right, earlier when we just talked about like everything that's going on, and that happened on in the Viscarium space. So when you go under the fantasy adventures and you're talking about Vesk 8, which is a frozen planet on the edge of the Viscarium space, there is a whole section on Shimmerstone shattering. We have some pictures and references. So if there's any part, at the end of the day, you're going to have to still, like, despite the way there's pros and cons, I think, to the way that they organize it. I think it's very cool because a lot of people will go into Starfinder being like, what kind of campaign do I want to run? And that's very, very handy for it. But if you're interested in the lore and everything that's been going on and you want more information than the summary at the top, you basically do just have to kind of read through all of the sections, read through, find the planet references and things like that.
Yeah, my one downfall for the book is I think it's very GM forward.
Which, yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
Not horrible, but like when you think about it, I think 10 to 15% of the people that play are GMs, while the other 85%'s players. So like, if I was a player, I'm not sure if I would buy the book.
Yeah, I think it would be a lot. I think it would be. I agree with that. I think that part is a little sucky because, like, let's say, for example, what I was doing when in the Starfinder campaign in 1E with you, Waffles, like, I was playing Kasatha, and so I wanted to learn a lot about the Adari, and I wanted to learn about how it operates, and so, like, for that, I would want the information that's provided here. So I suppose we just have to wait for all of this to become available on Nethys, though I don't know if they always do lore in that regard.
Yeah. They do light lore, I think, but yeah.
Where is... Oh, I should have written it down. There's...
What are you looking for?
The Zoe... Actually, I'll just search for Zoe.
Zoe exclamation point. You'll probably find it immediately.
Yep. Hold.
You got this.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll jump in here and say, I did really enjoy the Eyes Wide agency. I know Drac asked, like, what agency would you join? The Eyes Wide agency was just a holistic detective agency. Like, they don't really cater to good or bad people. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so it was in Triaxis. We talked about Zoe Media, right, from EOX. So one of the hotspots on Triaxis. So again, Triaxis is the world that had extreme frigid winters and fire-kissed summers that got basically shunted after the newborn's birth closer to the sun, like messing up the entire ecosystem. So that world, yeah, great. Also the dragons and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, hotspots in Triaxis after we get through the history and everything. Well, have you been to City McCityface?
Wait.
Yep, the name of the city. So basically what happened is Mayor Syndios basically had like plead to like name the city Greater Zoe. And what happened was that the audience Zoe's like fans voted instead to name the city McCityface. And so
that sounds like
literally, yes, the name is City McCityface. But silly name aside, the city's gleaming hangars are full of ace pilots, engineers, and sky chasers, a local term for groupies and fans.
The funny part is that could happen in like, yeah, see, Drek said that sounds so real. Like that could happen in the real world. Like, have you heard of the some stories of like kindergartners naming their mascots and stuff like that?
Yes. I can see it. So I saw that in passing and it cracked me up. So I wanted to highlight that last bit. But that's it, y'all. There's again so much more information here. Let me jump us back here. There's so much information in this book. It is fascinating. If you're interested in Starfinder or if you're interested in sci-fi and you've never had the chance to, honestly, I say this kind of excitedly on our end as well. Like, Starfinder 2E is launching now. This is the first Starfinder 2E official publication. I think, right? I don't know if they've done adventures yet. No, I don't think so because you would need all this
I
information.
think they're coming with. I think an adventure is coming basically kind of alongside
Yeah,
this, basically.
basically what I'm saying is this is a really awesome, fun time. I know often it is very daunting to enter like new worlds or new systems like Pathfinder, Starfinder, etc. because the lore is so overwhelming. Sometimes people prefer to play in systems that they can really get immersed in the lore. This is that opportunity. Like, yes, there's a shit ton of lore here. Yes, there's Starfinder 1E, but you're not going to be alone in joining this for the very first time. So if you're interested, check out the Starfinder 2E Galaxy Guide. I think it's really awesome. Has a lot of really awesome lore, a lot more than we could get through, and yeah,
And honestly,
yeah,
I think we're gonna probably go over all of it every time it comes out, just because there is a chance it may be used in Golem.
yeah.
So feel free to, if you don't want to be buying and reading books, just follow us.
Yes. Join
Like
us
we
on
will come out.
YouTube, and if you're not sure, if you came here for the Starfinder and you're like, what the heck is this golem thing that they keep talking about? Well, y'all, that is our brand new, we're only 2 episodes in, Pathfinder and Starfinder campaign that we're doing here on Waffles Maple Syrup. So you can join us live bi-weekly Tuesdays or on the YouTube or even podcast, whatever your preference is. We'll be there, and we hope you'll join us. Last question, is it recommended for people to know about Pathfinder lore if they're getting into Starfinder? It's not necessary, I don't think. I think while the gap and everything is very interchanged into it, and Waffles, I'll let you answer it your way as well. While the gap is intermingled into the lore and stuff like that, there's so much. You could do a canon Starfinder campaign that has nothing to do with the gap and nothing to do with Pathfinder. You would just have to learn probably some of the deities or some of the things new, but they're sort of remade for Starfinder anyways. So that's kind of how I view it. What about you, Waffles?
Yeah, as a GM that's run Starfinder, I'll piggyback what Syrup said. I do think you can run a canon campaign without knowing anything about Pathfinder. I think every I'm gonna put some math in here, so don't get mad at me. But for like, imagine every 5% you know about Pathfinder, it'll help you about 30-40% in Starfinder. Like if you know the deities of Pathfinder, like it'll help you so immensely of like learning the lore of Starfinder.
Okay, interesting. Differing opinions. There you go. Yeah, the most Pathfinder stuff you saw in here was like Abadar. Yep. The deities and kind of are all remade, and there's a whole bunch of some references, and some just disappeared. But like you mentioned at the very, very beginning, we talked about like old Rovagug. Like I did not see that mentioned, but I did not Control F. So if somebody else does that, let me know. All right.
Yeah, I mean we're also one book into what's going to end up a 40 book
yes,
thing. So
exactly.